Hello, everybody. It's good to be back again. And today we'll be looking at streaming dynamic content using Amazon CloudFront. This video is a response to a request by a good friend who is working on a job and just needs to understand how to do these stuff. Anyways, I hope you find it useful and also help get that learning curve thing going for you. So, in a quick overview, this session will teach you how to use Amazon CloudFront to dynamically or to deliver dynamic streams to connected devices on Apple HLS, which is the HTTP live streaming. And obviously, we'll be looking at multiple bit rates. Then we'll be using Amazon Elastic transcoder to convert the source video into multiple bit rates so we can actually have them streaming based on the bit rates. Then we'll be using Amazon CloudFront to deliver the bit rates to our client or viewer. Then we'll do a bit of cleanup. Now, quick introduction. We will talk about a few things of importance. The first one being the HTTP live streaming, or HLS as properly called. Now, you may be wondering what this is. Basically, the HLS or the HTTP live streaming is one of Amazon's product that can dynamically adjust movie playback quality to match the speed of the internet, either wired or wireless internet. It works by creating different quality streams, so we can have different bit rates, and that can be used to match the speed on the network, on the link, then serving the content to the user. Each stream is broken into chunks that are streamed sequentially to a client's device. Now, on the client's end, one can probably select the stream of varying bit rates, giving them that flexibility based on their network speed, and this allows streaming session to adapt to different network speeds. Now, the next thing we have there will be the multiple bit rates. So a single media file can be created in different bits. So let's say a file in an S3 bucket, which you're going to see later, we will actually create in bits, different bits, which are available for streaming. Each stream can be used to offer different quality media files to the user's device based on their network availability again. Now, the next thing we have there is a transcoder, the Amazon Elastic transcoder. The transcoder is a media transcoding in the cloud, just like what you have media transcoding installed on your computer. It's the same thing this does. It is designed to actually to bring this high scalability and easy to use, and also very cost effective for developers who would want to rapidly convert stuff, media files from one source format into different version that will play back on devices such as smartphones or even PCs or tablets. Then next we have the CloudFront. Obviously, I'm sure at this point you know what CloudFront is. So CloudFront is actually the CDN, as it's called, content delivery web service, content delivery network. It integrates with other Amazon products, just like we can see in the Elastic Transcoder, the HLS. It integrates seamlessly with them to easily distribute content to end users at a very low latency, high data transfer speed, and a minimum usage commitment. Okay, so enough with the chitty chat. Again, we'll get hands-on into the real show now. So we'll be getting on the lab. I'm going to minimize this, then we will start the lab, and I'll get back to you guys. Alrighty. Okay, so the first part of the hands-on session will be to verify our source file, or the input file. So we want to have a video file which we obviously want to serve to the client, or probably series of several videos. Okay, so for us, we'll be using S3 buckets. Now, this could be sourced from anywhere else anyways, but for the recording, we're just using S3 buckets. So over here in S3, we can see we've got about 3 buckets. Currently, this one that is public, if I click on it, we should see path input. Inside input, we have Amazon S3 simple.mp4. So this is the video which we will be serving to our users. Okay, great. The next, we want to create the CloudFront distribution so we can have this thing actually being able to serve the users. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to CloudFront, and in CloudFront we'll create a CloudFront distribution. Just a few basic settings. We won't be going into details. I already have a video showcasing how to use CloudFront to actually serve a static web application or anything else. So we will choose the origin domain. For this, we will identify that S3 buckets. We want to be sure it's the exact S3 bucket. So QLS, I'm going to do a quick verification here. QLS, okay, that should be the bucket. All right, so it's this one. Then the origin path, we can specify a path here if we want to, but I'm just going to leave this. We don't need to do anything there. The name, I will leave the name of the bucket to inherit that resource there, that details over there. Then for the S3 bucket access, well, we won't use OAI. Bucket must allow policy access. We won't use that, so we'll just click don't use that. Basically, that's what we have to do. Then everything else can be left as default, because like I did say, this video is not to actually showcase how to play around CloudFront. You can check on my other video to see how that stuff works. I'm going to go all the way to the base and just create distribution. Then the next part of the task will be to create the elastic transcoder configuration by creating a pipeline, then also being able to source the pipeline. So we should have a CloudFront distribution at the moment. Let's move on to the next part of this. Okay, so I'm going to go to my tab here and I'm going to search for elastic Transcoder. My network is a bit slow, so please bear with me. That's it over there. I'm going to just open this in a new tab and I'll wait for that to load. Okay, so we have the page loaded. Now, something you have to be very certain you are actually doing is to verify that the region is the same as the region of the S3 bucket. So a quick verification: Oregon, US West 2, and over here so we have Oregon actually selected. Now we're going to create a pipeline. Then from creating a pipeline, we'll just give it a simple name. We'll give it a pipeline name, input pipeline. I'm just going to make the first letter capitalized, input pipeline. Okay, that should be a good name or fair enough name. Now for the buckets, input buckets, again, remember we want to find that S3 buckets, which we have the resource in there. So it's QLS over here. We're going to select that. Now for creating IAM role, we can actually select roles. If there are any, there seem to be elastic transcoder role here, which most likely will be the default thing to actually do. So it assumes that role and all the permissions or privileges assigned to that role it can use to carry out its job function. Remember the principle of least privilege. Okay, just a few more settings to go. Now under the buckets, we're going to again select the bucket that we have the resource in there. Then the storage class. Now for the storage class, I think we'll be using the standard maybe, or reduce redundancy. Now we've got these two options. You may be wondering what the difference is between both of them. I think the reduce redundancy will best suit what we want to actually do serving videos. So under the configuration parameters of S3 bucket thumbnail, we do not have to set anything here anyways. We can just I think probably this should be standard. Then the configuration for this, we select the buckets. Then this should be reduced redundancy for the thumbnail, my bad, sorry about that. Okay, so basically what that is doing is we will be, if you check here, right here, the bucket for transcoder file and playlist is that S3 bucket, and we're using the storage class standard. But for here, we're using reduce redundancy for the thumbnail, because again, what happens is every content being put in that bucket will be a thumbnail created, and which obviously we do not want to set that as standard. Okay, so I think everything looks okay here. We can create the pipeline and we'll wait for this to finish, then we'll get back to you guys. Okay, so the next task will be to create a new job. And if you were wondering what would be a job, what a job does, basically the job is under the elastic transcoder pipeline, and what it does is basically the job works, it does the work of transcoding the input file into multiple bit rates, obviously, which is the whole essence of us wanting to have multiple bit rates, so we can serve to our user based on their network speed. Now we can do this right here off the bat. We can click on create new job and we'll just set up the configuration for that. Okay, so the first part of this will be to select the pipeline which you've just created. Now for the output prefix, we're just going to put output, then it should populate the remaining thing over there. For the input key, we should select that input Amazon S3 simple, which is the video, obviously, which we have right there. Now we have the option of configuring a bit more details, so we'll configure the output details. Now why do we have to basically do this? These settings will help us determine how many output files in terms of the bit rates are created. We will configure 3 basically we'll configure 3 files for this session, which we're showcasing, maybe 2 megabit per second, 1.5 megabit per second, and 1 megabit per second. Now each output bitrate will require a separate output detail section, basically, which we will be setting up later. Now this will also allow a playlist file for each bitrate, which lists all the segments making up the stream. Obviously you don't want to miss out on the entire stream, right, with these different bitrates. So what we're going to do right here off the bat, we have the option for setting a decryption parameter if we want to, and available settings if we want to. Now we can click on clip, or we can click on input and just set all that value over there. So what we're going to do is, for now, we'll go over for pre-test and set a bit more details right there. So for pre-test, we'll be selecting, we'll identify system present, then we'll look for specific HLS 2M. Remember, that's the whole idea of the video, which we HLS 2M. So this should be it. That's pretty much fine. Then under the segmentation duration, we will split segments in 10. So we're going 10, which actually is the default HLS. Then the output key value, we will set an output key value, maybe such as a HLS 2M. That should be pretty much okay. Then we'll click the option of creating more details here and setting up some more details which are required for this to work effectively. So the first one which we've created is for the 2 megabit per second. We're going to repeat the same thing we're going to do for the 1.5 megabit per second and also the 1 megabit per second. So again, we'll select the system prefix H. We'll just locate that. We're going for 1.5. Okay, segment duration, we will stick to the same segment duration, 10. I will call this 10 again. Then the output key, I'm going to use basically the same, but I'll just change this to 1.5. So we'll paste this value here and we'll just change this to 1.5. Sorry. Okay, then everything else looks okay. Auto is fine here, encryption parameter, available settings, then no watermarks. Okay, so for the next one, we'll use the HLM1, which should be the last one. We've done 1.51. Then the segmentation duration, again, we'll stick to 10. Then the output key, we will call this 10. Okay, I think we have everything okay there. Now under configuring the playlist, we need to also set up a playlist, right, if we need to. So under playlist, we will try and see if we can maybe use playlists, so we can have several, probably a single URL for a device playback to streams, then also to configure playlists to allow us have flexibility as to how the segmentation will be done. So under the playlist, we will add a playlist. Then the master playlist name, we'll just give it a name, master. Then on the playlist format, we'll be selecting HLS v3. Okay, pretty much okay. We have other versions that, as you can see, but I'm going to go for v3, pretty much fully integratable. Then I think at this point we have the option to maybe set up 1 or 2 more items or details, the outputs in master playlists. We can as well select for any of these. Obviously we'll have to repeat for all 3 of them, so we can have that well set out for all of them. Okay, so I have created for all 3 of them that were created. I'm selected for all 3 of them that were created. Now the content protection, we have the option to actually do a bit of protection right there, HLS AES, but again, we do not want anything that will slow down stuff, because once you start encrypting, obviously we expect that stuff will slow down. I'm going to just create this job, and once that is created, we will test the playback for the dynamic bitrate stream and see if the stuff works effectively. So at the moment, it's still processing. We will wait for this to finish up. And obviously, we can clearly see the input file. Then we can see the 3 different outputs that we had created for the 3 different bit rates. Okay, so pretty much interesting and important. Then at the end of the end of everything, we should have the status done processing, then we can now try to use our CloudFront domain to see if we can access this resource. Now, this could be accessed from any device, Android or iOS, or even we'll turn our conventional browser, see if it works actually. Okay, so over here we can see the job is done, that is completed, and then we will have three different presets ID for these three different bit rates which we have created. Now, if we go back to S3 bucket, we will find an output folder created with different link for this playlist, but I won't be showing you that content. Apologies for that. That's how you do this stuff. Now, the next thing, if you want to access this thing, one, you will need the CloudFront URL, which is this. Then you will now specify the path to the resource which you want. So more like you're going to have the CloudFront URL, then you have slash output, which is the output folder, then you have slash the resource itself, so which means CloudFront will be serving that resource which is in the bucket for you to actually be able to view it. Okay, maybe I can just show you what it looks like. So we can see there's output here. If I click on outputs, we will see all three objects created. Okay, there are multiples of them because of the 10-second specification which we have. So if I want to maybe view this, I can copy this and go to my CloudFront URL, copy the CloudFront URL, which is this, then I have a slash, then I have output, then I have slash that resource specific. Hence I'll be able to view just this cut out part of it, which is, you can see pretty much the size is very small, hence it will be solved at a very good speed, and no matter what the internet speed is, you'll just get rich content being served at you. So that will be it for this recording. Thank you for your time, and I hope to see you in another recording. Have a good day and bye.